What's up, y'all? It's Jeremiah with Moark Outdoors, and today we're going to be going over a highly discussed topic. Should I or should I not use a turkey decoy? And this is kind of a hard subject. There's a lot of situations where you should, there's a lot of situations where you shouldn't, and there's a lot of guys that only use decoys. There's a lot of guys that don't use decoys at all, and I think there is a nice even ground between those. But decoys are highly debated on because they work for some people, they don't work for other people. If you know how to set them up right on a turkey, it might work. If you don't, it might not. There's so many different variables that can go in with turkey decoys. But first, we're going to talk about the pros of turkey decoys. Turkey decoys can be super effective to get birds to come to you within shotgun range. They give them a thing to key in on. They give them an area to want to be at. And turkeys are social animals. They like being with other turkeys. And it works a lot of times. It can also play on the dominance of a bird. Depending on your setup, you can have a setup that really irritates those big gobblers. And you can have a setup that, for those younger birds, it looks enticing. There's a lot of birds there, depending on how you set up your spread can depend on your results. But they're very effective in field scenarios and really open scenarios, something like that. They work really well, and they help you to draw those birds in. And let me just tell you, they work really well when you are in a wide open field and a big bird pitches down, and let's say he's the super dominant bird. I mean, he'll turn a burn right to you. And it works great in that scenario. And there's a couple other scenarios, really open timber, they can also work well there. Something the bird can key in on. And they work well for those scenarios. But I will tell you, let's get to the cons. There's a lot of cons to decoys, in my opinion. So I think a decoying bird can go three ways. I think a decoying bird can come straight in and flog your Jake decoy or try to breed your hen decoy, the stuff you see on TV. But I also think a decoy can immediately hang up the bird that saw those decoys. And I think a decoy can also scare turkeys away, depending on their dominance. As a lot of people know, turkeys have a pecking order, and they follow it very strictly. There's young gobblers that might get alone with a real hen off somewhere away from the big gobbler and still not breed her because they're nervous and scared about it. I've watched it happen before where he'll sneak off with another hen, but it's almost like he's frightened of her because maybe he just got spurred the day before, or maybe he's just aware of how his pecking order works in his area. And a lot of times you'll see those gobblers roost away from the main flock of turkeys, or in a timber situation where the birds are roosting away from each other most of the time anyways. You'll see them roost around the flock, but not quite with the flock. But me personally, I'll shoot 2-year-old turkeys every day of the week, because if they're going to work and they're going to gobble, that is fun, and that's a good way to do it. But decoys with those younger birds, a lot of times they'll see it and they'll go, ooh, because they'll come to hen calling, but when they see the hen, it's like they stay back and wait for her to come to him. That's how it works in nature, but it's also a dominance thing. If she's going to come with me, I might sneak off with her, but I'm not going to go directly to her because I don't know what else is around her, and that big tom could be in the tree line and I don't see him. And a lot of times that's the way they'll act. 2, they might just flat run away. Now, I'm an Ozark mountain turkey hunter. I have watched it happen before where the decoy makes them nervous, something's not right about it, or they're scared of the bird that's with that decoy. Oh no, it's Big Tom, or if you're using a hen and a Jake, they might confuse it for a Tom or whatever. And I've seen them run away. I had a flock of literally like 10 turkeys, and they were all gobblers and Jakes, and they ran from a lone hen decoy. Now, there's multiple factors that play into that, but I've seen them do that. So for my all-in-all opinion, me personally, I've killed birds over decoys, but I've killed a lot more birds without them. And I think there's a lot of situations where guys are using decoys as a crutch, and they don't kill birds because they're using decoys. Now, I know there's some guys, I've got some buddies, they won't go out without a decoy. Me, I would rather go out without a decoy. But I've killed them in both situations. Now me, I mostly hunt timber, mostly hunt steep timber, thick timber. So a decoy, A, is not very visible in the first place, so there's not a whole lot of reason to use one. But B, our turkeys around here, and I know people say that, but they do seem to act weird around decoys. And that's the consensus that I have from a lot of the mountain hunter guys that I've talked to. You know, woodsmanship, being able to slip up, being able to get in a good spot, positioning where that bird can't see you, even when they come close, where they have to come looking, that's a lot bigger of a deal than having a key object is. But, like I said, I'm not the dean of turkey hunting, and I'm not going to tell anybody how they have to do it. So those are the pros and cons of turkey hunting with the decoy. Now I'm going to go over each individual decoy and what I recommend personally if you're going to use them. So this right here is my Avian X. It's a laying hen decoy. It's an inflatable. It's actually very heavy, so that's a thing to keep in mind if you walk a long ways, if you walk steep, or you walk in general. I know some turkey hunters, they're a blind guy or whatever, they sit there all day. I'm not. Can't stand it. I like to run and gun and go. It's a lot of fun. So these can get heavy, but in the scenario where you need them, you might need them. So if I'm on private, these actually come with bags. If I'm on private, I'll take that bag and throw it on the edge of a field where in a place where I can slip up to later on, and then I'll take off and go after the roosting birds. And when they fly down, hunt them. If I got to come back to that field, nothing's talking, take that, throw a decoy out there. But the lone hen setup is probably my favorite because it's the least intimidating way you can set up decoys. So you're catching a wider spread of birds there. Now, a big dominant gobbler, he sees a hen out there, he might not care. He might just stay in his strutting spot, do his deal. But he could come straight to you. I think there's a wider range where that is effective with your lone hen for your 2, 3, or your 4, 5, 6-year-old birds, even jakes. You know, I think that's one of your better strategies when it comes to that. Now, the male decoy, the redhead decoy, Jake, it could be a gobbler, it could be a strutter. Good news is they are super duper visible. And if you are in a scenario where this is going to work, I think it can work really good. See the bright red head? Now, beard, I don't know. I mean, I've killed a gobbler last year with beard rot where he had a Jake beard. Unless he was in full strut, you would never know. So I don't think that has a whole lot to do with it. I think it is the black color versus the lighter brown color. I think it's the black color. I think it's the red, white, and blue head. I think that plays a bigger factor. Now, they are very visible. That is number one. They're super visible, and that is very nice for if you're hunting in a very big field area, like a place like central Kansas or north central Kansas. Went up there a couple years ago, and that was huge because the laying hen, it's not very visible. A standing hen's not very visible, but that black coloration, boy, that really pops, and it adds to birds being able to see your decoys. So I'm a big fan of the Jake decoy in that scenario. And when you have a lot of turkeys around, a lot of dominant birds, you know, you're coming out to a field or a ridge top and there's 4 birds strutting there, 5 birds strutting there, you know, or you're going out in the morning, you're hearing 7, 8 different gobbles on one ridge. I think a Jake decoy is probably going to work really well for you. And it's going to pull those birds right in, and I think that can be a huge deal. But I will caution against the Jake decoy. When you're hunting, let's say all you got to hunt's jakes, or you don't mind shooting a Jake, or a 2-year-old turkey, or a 3-year-old turkey, or just not the boss turkey in the area, that's where it can come back to bite you. Those Jake decoys work great for those big dominant birds that are going to come in there and flog the decoy, or you set him up with the hen in like a breeding scenario or whatever. Boy, that'll work great. But there's a lot of scenarios where it doesn't work great, where a bird will see that and go, I don't know if I want to get any closer. Maybe I'll just hang out here. You know, they don't know. As long as they believe in the decoys, they don't know that you're sitting there. So it's not like they want to come in there. They're just swinging around, doing their thing, pecking away, whatever they're going to do. And it just depends on the day of how that scenario is going to play out. And sometimes it depends on the turkey's mood how that scenario is going to play out. But a Jake decoy, a strutter decoy, I will just caution you against them. If you're going to use them, know your turkeys in your area and whether they're going to be all about that. You know, 3, 4 gobblers grouped up, boy, you know, they're big. But a solitary 2-year-old turkey, he might not take interest in that. He might go, I think I'm going to pass. You know, I've been whooped up on by a different gobbler in the area. And sometimes it just depends on their mood. The last decoy I'm going to go over is this one right here, which, to tell you personally, not a huge fan of. But the reaping decoy, the scoot and shoot. Now, that decoy right there has killed a pile of turkeys. And people seem to be picking up on it, and a lot of people seem to be using it. Now, I have it for a different reason. Like I was telling you guys earlier, I basically only hunt timber, and I rarely get to see a tom strutting in a field and actually get to go hunt it. So what I use this for is I use this as like a piece of deployable cover. You know, you can move up and check ridges and check things while basically being immune. I mean, if you crawl down behind this thing, a lot of times if you peek a ridge and you're looking through that hole in the fan, you can see a bird there, you drop down, you make up your mind. Or you're walking through the timber with this thing, and that works really well. I actually tested it out with a hen this weekend in a wide open field. I walked. I could see her. I walked out to her about 60 yards with this. She ran the first little bit, but she didn't run off putting and running. I just kind of walked out there, and she jogged off, and then she stopped, and she was looking, and she never ran away. Never putted, nothing. So that was just going to be my little test, because I've used this in the timber a lot, but I didn't know how effective it was. Well, it's effective. I got to use it twice this weekend to be able to see turkeys that I wouldn't generally get to see, or, you know, maybe just a quick glance of, but I actually got to take a look through this fan. So that's a pretty handy way to use it. Personally, I know a lot of people say it's cheating. Well, if it's legal in your state and people can use them to kill turkeys, and that's your only goal is to kill one, then I think it's effective. For when you see a strutter in a field, I mean, I would go into detail, but it's not hard. What you see on TV is actually true. People just crawl up to turkeys with that fan and boom, shoot them. This one has like a little bipod on the bottom that I guess you can attach your gun and shoot from down here. But they work. I won't hate on it. My buddies, I might, but I won't hate on anybody for using them, you know, especially getting into it, getting into the sport. But me personally, I don't really need one, so it just kind of sits around. And B, I don't like the idea of it. I like the idea of calling that turkey in and playing that game with that turkey. You know, killing them is not the only thing that I'm interested in. I'm interested in learning about the animal. But it is a very effective way to kill turkeys. I'll give them that. And it can work if you're in really, really wide open areas and fields, you know, slipping up on turkeys. That might be the only thing you can do, unless you can get them right off the rip. You know, when they fly down, you're sitting below them. So I understand why people do that. And, you know, the decoys in general, like I told you, I don't use them much. It's because I live in a very heavily wooded area, and I don't really see the need to use them. And I think they do more harm than good when I'm hunting. But if you're in a wide open area, sometimes that's all you can do. If you can't do anything else, and it's just there's 3 trees out there, and those are the ones that turkeys are sleeping in, that's not going to work. You're going to have decoys. But that's about it for decoys. And like I said, I'm not a big decoy guy. Should you use a decoy? I think you should play it with caution. Watch what I told you, and just weigh it out on your own. And the only way you're going to learn is to take them. So, you know, if your area, you say, well, decoys work great, well, then use them. That's what I would do. So, anyways, guys, that's going to be it for our decoy section. And I hope it helps somebody out. You know, turkey hunting's not an easy sport, and it's something that takes a while to learn. So, it's Jeremiah with Mark Outdoors, signing out.